Hello to all my foodies out there. We are back with another recipe from Baking Yesteryear. This week I am going back to make the Sandtorte recipe, which I'm really excited to try because from what I've read, it is similar to a pound cake, and I do love pound cake. It's one of my favorites. Um, so I am very excited to give this a try today. Hopefully it turns out good. It is really, really hot where I am. And I do have to beat up egg whites, and sometimes that can be tricky when it is really, really hot. We are in the middle of a heat wave here. But we're gonna see how this goes, and hopefully it turns out okay, with everything. So let's get started. So we are going to bake this in a springform pan, which I have greased here. Um, the recipe called for a tall 9-inch springform pan. I believe this is an 8-inch. If I have more batter, I do have a second springform pan this size. I can always make 2 cakes instead of the one. But I'm just going to go with this for now and see how it turns out. And hopefully one pan will be big enough, but if not, like I said, I do have another one. So for the Sandtorte, we've got eggs, which I do have separated here. We've got butter. This is the zest of a lemon. In here is baking powder and salt. I've got a little bit of rum, flour, sugar, and cornstarch. This recipe did use a lot of cornstarch. But I want to say that is how it gets like the really fine texture to it, which is partly how it got its name, from like the fine texture to it. So we are going to start by beating the cream and sugar together. I will get started with that, and when I have that done, I will be back with you. All right, so I do have my sugar and butter mixed up together. We are going to beat in our egg yolks now. All right, so if the egg yolks are all mixed in, it is a really, really pretty yellow color. And it just looks so good. So now we are going to mix in the lemon zest and the rum. When I get that done, I will be back. All right, so I have the rum and the lemon zest mixed in. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to beat in the cornstarch. I'm going to do that, and then I will be back with you to show you what it looks like when I have that all mixed in together. So I have the cornstarch beat in. It's looking really good. It is a very light looking cake batter so far as texture goes. Next, I'm going to beat in the flour, salt, and baking powder. That does have to beat for a while. The recipe did say to beat it for at least 5 minutes. So I'm going to do that off camera as well. And when I have that done, I will be back. Okay, so I have the rest of my dry ingredients is all mixed in to the butter and the sugar and the eggs and all of that. I am going to beat up the egg whites next, which I did put in a bigger bowl here so I could beat them up. Get that out of my way. Once I have these beat up, they are going to get mixed in to the rest of the batter. When I am ready to do that, I will be back. All right, so I have beaten up my egg whites as best I could. Um, like I said, it is really hot here. Um, and so they are still a little bit soupier than I would like, but they are beaten well enough that I can mix them in to the rest of the batter. I'm going to get that done and I will show you what it looks like after I'm finished. All right, so I have the egg whites mixed in and I do have it in my springform pan. I am just using the one pan. I'm hoping it doesn't rise above my cake pan as it cooks, but we'll see what it does. Hopefully I don't make a big mess with this, but it is going to be what it's going to be. I'm going to get this in the oven and baking. When it's done, we will take a look at it. All right, so I have the cake out of the oven. It looks really, really good, and I cannot wait to try it. It does need to cool a little bit more. After it's cooled, I will take it out of the pan and dust it with some powdered sugar. Um, I will let you guys know what I think of it after I try it. But for now, I am just going to let it cool. Um, I did just take it out of the oven, but it is looking really, really good. All right, so I did take this out of the pan and dust it with powdered sugar. I am going to cut a very, very small piece and give it a try and give you guys my final thoughts. And I will be back in a minute. All right, so I did cut a small piece out here. I did want to just show you the cake after it was cut, just so you can see the texture in there of how like nice and light it is, and everything, and I will be back with my final thoughts. Okay, so I did just want to pop in here and give my final thoughts on the Sandtorte. I think it turned out really, really good. I loved it. It is a nice light cake. It does have like the flavor of a pound cake, which I love, but definitely a lighter texture to it. When I was making it, I was kind of reminded of an angel food cake with mixing in the beaten egg whites and stuff like that. The texture is very different from both a pound cake and an angel food cake. It does remind me a little bit of both, but it is closer in texture to a pound cake than it is the angel food cake, but it's still not quite like a traditional pound cake either. It is just a very nice, light, airy cake, which is great for this time of year, middle of summer or start of summer, end of June here. It is super hot outside, and the lighter desserts are better, I think, during this time of year. I don't like the heavy, rich desserts in summer when it is super hot, just because it's almost too much when it is this hot out. But this is definitely a nice light dessert that is great for this time of year. However, I will say it can be tricky to make this time of year because of having to beat up the egg whites. Sometimes if it's too hot out, they don't like to beat up correctly. Like I said earlier, mine weren't as beaten up as I would have liked them to be, but the cake still turned out fantastic. I do have to say that this is now my new favorite out of the cakes that I've made from this book. Um, it was super easy to make, definitely easier than the spice cake or the election cake. I like the flavor better of it. It just turned out better, the best out of the three of them so far. Um, and is something that you can make up really quickly. The only downfall is that it did use a lot of eggs in it, which would be the main reason I probably won't make this a ton, just because of the amount of eggs that it did call for. That's also why I don't make a lot of pound cake, even though I love it. But it is definitely worth making again. Next week, I will be back with the Pioneer Brownies, which also sound really good. I do enjoy making brownies, so we will see how those are. I want to say we are going to be wrapping up the 1900s chapter here pretty soon. I want to say there's maybe 2 or 3 more recipes out of this chapter, and then we will be moving on to the 1910s. But I will let you guys know for sure when I do move on to the 1910s. But yeah, so far overall, I am enjoying the recipes out of this book. As we move forward in time throughout the book, the recipes will be becoming more common, and we'll be interested to hear your thoughts on some of these recipes too, if you've had them. If you've had a Sandtorte, please comment down below and say what you think about it. Until next time, good times, good food. Bye.